Ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a treat right here. Cognitive versus Cloud9. This is the semifinals for the qualifier of Enter the Storm North America. Number 5. This is the 5th qualifier, Jay Howe. A long way we have come thus far.
Everything's looking really good. Cloud9, of course, being announced, that they're going to be playing today. I think that's nothing but a fan favorite there. Everybody loves to see Cloud9 play. And when you have these teams that have already qualified, like Cognitive, like Cloud9, these guys are going to be facing off in just a couple of weeks. And they're getting, I know they scrim each other, right? But this is more of a tournament-oriented style to where they actually are trying to get to where they need to go. And that's what I really like about them both, or all of these teams right now that are competing in the tournament.
So we do see Li Ming being banned out this time. Cognitive going, we don't want that. We don't want Arthalon's Li Ming on the field. But when you force out that ban on Li Ming, the next most probably contended hero being put on the field is going to be the fight doggy, as some people know him as Rhaegar. That lightning shield build, despite the fact that it got nerfed, still incredibly powerful. You line that up, you pair that up rather with a strong frontliner, a thrall. Any one of your warriors, maybe a little bit of an offensive warrior like Murden or Sonya. Leoric, someone like that, and it works incredibly well. And at the same time, Rhaegar's healing is very, very strong. His mobility is strong. His offensive capability is strong. There's one of the reasons we see him picked up so early in the draft so frequently.
And they're hovering over him, and I'm not sure if actually they're might be going away from this. It looked like they were just about to lock in, and I guess with the recent, I guess we're gonna call the nerf a nerf. I mean, Rhaegar obviously coming out dominating after the last patch. Maybe teams are reconsidering his status as first pick or first ban right now.
Well, another thing to take in consideration is Jaina received a big buff with her Frostbolt damage going up significantly, and we saw that last time we casted Jay Howe, that when Jaina was picked up, gone is the build of the Blizzard AoE increase at level 4 and the damage vulnerability at level 7. It's all about those Frostbolts talents. Level 1 is a personal choice. Sometimes you still see Conjurer's Pursuit and the other talents picked up, but level 4 and level 7, you get the Pierce, as well as you get the damage, the Ice Lance at level 7, the cooldown reduction whenever you hit a frozen target with a Frostbolt, and if you can put that Jaina in a position where she's protected enough to where she can pick up Icy Veins, then she can do huge amounts of single target burst damage.
A lot of what we've seen recently has been people gearing more towards that Icy Veins, but we've also seen it blow up in people's faces to where they weren't able to properly protect them. And I feel that at this level, some teams are going to play a little bit on the safer side, as we do see Cognitive coming out with Rhaegar and Falstad, which, believe it or not, and I know it was pretty much going to be a Li Ming counter, but we actually saw our first signs of Hinterland Blast making a comeback, especially after its recent buff there. So kind of surprising, but I guess rather unsurprising a little bit.
Well, I think what happened there is Team OVO wanted to... They let Li Ming through. They knew exactly what they were doing last draft. For those of you who are just tuning in, welcome. I'm Shane Gutra. This is Jay Howe. What they did, Li Ming was let through, and that had to be intentional. They wanted to do that strategy right there with the Hinterlands Blast. I feel like that was something they wanted to try out. If they lined up a couple more times, we might have been see OVO in here versus Cognitive instead. But nonetheless, it didn't really line up for him. I think in this current, with the draft and Cognitive's playstyle overall, it more than likely will be still that Mighty Gust we're going to see on the table. Cloud9, though, man, they're once again building into huge single target damage, crowd control between the Jaina, the Murden, Tyrande. You can pair up the Tyrande Jaina. You can tie up with the Murden Tyrande. Any combination of these heroes are all very deadly, are very strong from the early game all the way into the mid game, into the late game. This draft right here for Cloud9 looking very, very strong.
Yeah, as we do get to the second round of bans, a Sonya ban, not normally as popular, especially after a recent nerf that she had, but also on the other side, we're seeing an Illidan ban. So taking care of that front line, I'm curious, one of the things that we had seen just a few weeks ago was there was always somebody up on that front line with one of those warriors. And, Thrall is still on the board here. I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody pick up Thrall, but Sonya was pretty much the next best choice after Thrall. But all of these heroes getting a nerf with the exception of Illidan. But of course, a lot of people have been really high on Zeratul as well recently.
Yeah, and that Illidan ban is just outright is just a respect ban for Glaurung, who obviously is the new roster Cognitive. I'm sure you guys know him. Glaurung is known as one of the flashier melee assassin players, and he's probably the only team that is still going to run Cognitive here in North America is Illidan, just because he's so good at the hero. He's also just as effective at Zeratul. He's just as effective at Thrall. All of those kind of melee-centric heroes, Sonya is in that pool as well. He's so very good at. But obviously, Cloud9, I know Dunk Train personally, he loathes Illidan. He hates playing against Illidan. Even in the state where, when Illidan was a mainstay in the meta, it was just Dunk Train. Trust me, go out and just Google Dunk Train Illidan interview or anything like that, and it will be him just saying how he doesn't like the hero. He just doesn't want to face up against it. He takes it out of the equation. ETC and Zeratul, though, that is equally going to be very hard at dealing with.
If we can get that power slide into a mosh pit and possibly avoid prison on that back end, basically taking Tyranda's stun out of it, then yeah, that's going to be really tough to contend with. But it is something that might be difficult to land. We did see last time a Zeratul get picked up, and then we saw a Tassadar come out that had that Oracle, and then they specced into it with that level 4 talent to be able to get it on cooldown. Will we be seeing a similar strat? We do see Raynor. This looks very similar to their last draft, with the exception of Jaina being swapped out for Li Ming.
Yeah. I won't be surprised if they just, stay with what they know. They could obviously, there's many different heroes they could pick up here. Thrall wouldn't be a bad idea. Tassadar wouldn't be a bad idea. And there it is. This is literally the exact same draft they just had last match. So go with what you know. Go with what works well. And it is the same exact draft, but it's still it's an extraordinarily effective draft. Obviously, Tassadar, you guys know how strong he is at dealing with Zeratul with the vision and everything else. But more importantly, Raynor at dealing with ETC as well. Level 13, Raynor picking up a Relentless Leader. That ETC is going to he's going to have such a difficult time ever trying to find good initiation on that Raynor, especially if we see the Adrenaline Rush talents at level 1, level 7 with Relentless Leader at 13. Raynor becomes really tanky, really hard to control, and the uptime of him getting his auto attacks off is going to be very, very high. He's going to put up big damage numbers accordingly.
Cognitive has a tough decision with this last spot. You still have Zagara on the board, who has been one of the more popular heroes, but do they need to try and reinforce that front line? Are they going to try and reinforce that back line with somebody possibly like a Vala? I mean, they have a really tough decision here. They already had their Zeratul countered by Tassadar, which we already saw being very effective last game. This is a very tough decision. You have plenty of damage with Falstad and Zeratul, and hey, I almost forgot that one guy that just got nerfed a little bit, Kael'thas. I guess he's still around, right?
Well, his auto attack damage is nerfed. Phoenix isn't what he used to be. But more importantly, Chain Bomb is still there. Chain Bomb is still extraordinarily strong. With that being said, Faye, who's the ranged assassin player for Cognitive, plays this unique build specific to her. I've heard it be called just the Faye build, where at level 4 she gets Clairvoyance. Level 7 she picks up the... what did she pick up at level 7? I can't remember how the build goes. It's Clairvoyance at level 4, and then... Or I'm sorry, at level 7 it's Clairvoyance. At level 4, it's Gathering Power. Nailed it. Gathering Power at level 4, Clairvoyance level 7. They increase range on Flame Strike at 13, and then the double Flame Strike at level 16. And we talked about how Cloud9 has such a strong single target dealing draft, that's going to give Faye a lot of distance between her and her enemy. So we might see her pull out that build that she frequently goes.
Yeah, and I can't remember which tournament, but I actually saw that she actually went with Backdraft during one as well at that level 16 talent. So, we've seen such a streamlined, meta for Kael'thas over time, but Faye basically breaking away from the norm and using it very effectively. And I guess, with the recent changes, it's no surprise that Kael'thas is making it through drafts, maybe making it towards the end of drafts. But that pick right there, I don't know if it's a comfort pick or it's actually pretty much the right pick at this point, but a strong pick nonetheless.
And one hero who was completely ignored was Zagara, which is very surprising for both of these teams because she's so effective in that bottom lane. She controls the bottom lane. She thrives in that sort of scenario where you put her up in a 1v1 situation. She gives a lot of... Obviously, if the creep spread goes unmitigated, she can have full control over that bottom shrine, the second temple phase, of the bottom temple, rather. The bottom temple is the second one that spawns relatively early on. Generally, teams are in between level 7 to level 10, depending on the timing and how the first phase plays out. But generally, it's before level 10 and between level 7. That's a great timing for the lineup that Cognitive could have had. But they went with the Kael'thas instead, and it's. I think this is the first time in quite a while that I can recall where Zagara just simply was a non-factor in the draft.
She's been such a strong hero for such a long time. It's almost been one of those, with the recent shifts in the meta, the new heroes, we've seen a lot of change and a lot more variety. And I think that's one of the things that Blizzard has been going for, taking down some of these stuns, basically, opening things wide open. I don't think this game has been in a better place when you look at the current meta and how wide-ranging it is right now.
Yeah.
We still see a lot of familiar faces, but the fact that Zagara basically got through the entire draft and Kael'thas was the last pick, I think to me is a definite sign that things are changing here, Shane.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the fact that Li Li's allowed, and when you just throw in one hero into the meta that is strong as Li Ming, it really shakes up the draft considerably, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing here, guys. The game should be going underway here in just a moment, so for those of you just tuning in, hello, welcome. Again, there was a little bit of a delay in the broadcast due to factors outside of our control. We'll just go ahead and say that. But for those of you joining us, thank you for the support. This is Enter the Storm NA Cup number 2. This is the 5th qualifier. So we are well into progress of this tournament thus far. These teams are trying to get themselves into the group stage and then subsequently into the playoff stage where the teams are going to be fighting for $10,000. And that prize pool really helped out significantly by our wonderful sponsors, Rockhat, guys, and as well as putting some peripherals into the prize pools as well to sweeten up some mice, keyboards, mouse pads, things like that. Make sure you guys give them support. Hit them up, our sponsors on Twitter, both Ghost Gamers, Rockhat. Let them know you appreciate the support and obviously for everything that they've done thus far. Once this game gets underway, I'm sure it's going to be quite a slobber knocker. The Battleground of Sky Temple usually yields to some great games, J-Hal.
Absolutely. We do see a lot of contesting over the temples. It's one of those things, or the shrines. One of the things that we talk about, and that you talk about in particular, certain maps, you're able to contest, you're able to take both, or you're able to completely back off. This is one of those ones that you can make the right decision or make a safe decision instead of fully committing. And that's one of the things a lot of these teams, we saw Cursed Hollow last time, we're seeing Sky Temple this time. We see these teams, especially at this upper echelon, really like these larger maps.
So on this battleground, it's on a clock. I'm sure you guys have heard me say that before, where it's on a clock. And with that being said, the more damage you can do to the structures without the utilization of the objective, the more valuable the objective is going to be. The closer you're going to get to the more valuable structures, the forts, the inner towers, the keeps, ultimately the core. So taking a look at the draft specifically, following that point up here with the fall stat on cognitive, they have that global mobility, where obviously utilizing maybe that global mobility, they can find themselves by pushing a little bit harder during an objective, split soaking, getting an experience advantage through that, and flying into a team fight, whether it be at a boss or a mercenary camp, whatever the status may be. And that's one thing you got to keep an eye on. That's the hallmark of a strong Falstad player. And real quick, on the left side of your map, it is going to be cognitive, guys. It's Coffin Luck on the Falstad, Glarong on one of his well-known iconic heroes, Zeratul, Caterpillar on ETC, Iacona on Rhaegar. Look at him dance for us. Faye on that Kael'thas.
On the right side for Cloud9, we're going to be looking at Arthalon playing Tassadar there. King Caffeine on Mirrodin, K1 Pro on Jaina, iDream on Raynor, and there's Dunk Train playing Tyrande once again.
So the gates are down. This game is underway. And don't forget, guys, this is a best-of-one series. So these teams are going to have to put their best foot forward. And they're going to be fighting their hearts out for the prize pool. Immediately, we see Cloud9 getting control of the shrine. As the first temple phase spawns in the next maybe about 4 or 5 minutes, there's a big emphasis on controlling that watchtower because it gives you all the vision over this temple right here in the mid part of the map. So that's a big point of contention early on. If one team can get themselves that level 4 talent well before the enemy team, they can put themselves in great position in the early game.
It looks like we're going to see a little bit of a rotation, maybe just a clear out there. We're going to have Falstad and Zeratul down in the bottom lane. They both went with ones that require, so we have Seasoned Marksman and Regeneration Master, and still a contesting. We see Dunk Train just sitting on point at that top for that vision. They're not willing to give it up just yet. I find this very interesting by Cloud9. Perhaps they're looking for an early pick here, Shane.
They are looking for that early pick, give them a little bit of an experience boost, hit that level 4. There's just timing sometimes, as I mentioned, where one team gets level 4, just maybe, even if it's 10 or 15 seconds before the other enemy team, that 10 or 15 seconds, if you're able to capitalize on that window of level 4, with the way the scaling is now in the early game, you can just take either decisive team fight, boss them, or bully them rather, or boss them off of the temple, and really get yourself in a good position, a lead to level 7, a lead to level 7. We'll see how this takes place here. No takedowns quite yet. The first temples are spawning here and right now, and we'll see what the call is here from both of these teams. Falstad staying static in the bottom lane, as well as Raynor, and this is a situation that favors cognitive. Obviously, Falstad has that mobility, while Raynor does not.
It looks like Cognitive is making the point to go ahead and push this top lane, see if they can get it. They're forcing the action. They know that Falstad, like you said, can fly in at any time. They are pushing for this top temple, and they're pushing. And now King Caffeine is staying on top of that. We're going to see a little bit of a contest here. The Oracle coming out, spotting Zeratul there, basically thwarting the potential pick that they were going to look for on that back line.
Yeah, level 4 is here for Dunk Train, and that's what I was talking about, man. They got to be careful. Once they hit level 4 themselves, Cognitive, that is, they can maybe find themselves in the aggressive. Glaring in a little bit of trouble. Chain here is going to keep him alive. They're turning around to Iacona. He is aggressively positioning himself forward. Tassadar early on. Oh, actually, hold that thought. King Caffeine's in a little bit of trouble. Glaring an aggressive bolt forward, but he's going to be okay. And these teams exchanging blows very evenly. No one getting knocked down to the mat quite yet here, Jay Howe. But that was pretty close. Tassadar early on is actually much easier to take down in these early level talents before he gets level 13 and level 16.
Oh, wow. Faye in all kinds of trouble, trying to get a little bit of wave clear. We saw the stuns come out, the mark go out, and we saw that get blown up very quickly. And Raynor goes down on that back line now. We see a stun coming out. ETC Caterpillar using that power slide, getting the stun in there, falling back. Zeratul and Falstad remaining in that middle lane. The Sentinel does go down, doesn't do enough. Caterpillar very tanky there, as we now see committing to this middle one, but Cognitive not willing to give up that temple just yet, as they did force the fight there. But this middle temple is going to go back to Cloud9 right now.
Yeah, so Cloud9 bounced back from getting 2 knocked off the field for a little bit. Taking a look at Faye's build, it is going to be that newly anointed Faye build, I'm going to like to call it here, with Gathering Power at level 4. Clairvoyance more than likely going to be the pickup at level 7. It's probably still going to be Phoenix at level 10. I doubt it's going to be Pyroblast. I don't know. Faye likes switching it up, man. She is not afraid of switching it up, as we know. So we'll keep an eye on that come level 10. But right now, both of these teams contending over the last pot shots in this mid-shrine, or temple.
We saw K1 Pro rotate down while the rest of the team tried to fend off the damage here, trying to stay on point, trying to get to level 7 right now. Raynor just now rotating up after he cleared that last one, but the last shots gathered there by Cognitive. They were able to contest this, and so very nicely done by Cognitive to be able to salvage some of that, but the stun coming out, finding Raynor on that rotation, obviously came up the wrong side at the wrong time, and down goes Raynor once again. Glaurung just able to get out of there and getting the race to level 7 by just a hair right now. Cognitive with that last kill, 2-1 advantage right now.
Have a great experience lead. Falstad flying to the bottom lane. If he can push that in and Cloud9 doesn't quick on their heels to send someone down to the bottom lane, they're going to find themselves down even more experience, as that wave is going to get cleared up and they're not going to be able to get that precious experience that they need. As right now, both these teams are trying to get themselves to level 10, those heroics. We do see Cognitive falling back to their mercenary camps, putting some pressure into that bottom lane. And so generally what teams like to do here is this next temple is going to be in the bottom lane. It's the second temple phase. It's the only one that spawns during the second phase. But if you can push out the lane and push down these structures and then fall back and get up, control the temple, then that temple is going to be so valuable because it's going to take out the fountain, which means Cloud9 won't have that to fall back on in an engagement. And the fort, obviously worth a lot of experience. The back tower, worth a little bit as well. But more importantly, the bottom lane is so important because of this boss right here. We don't see him taking until like level 16, level 20. But if you can push down that bottom lane hard and without utilizing the objective and saving it for the objective later on in the match, it puts you in prime position to just get yourself a really easy win condition.
Just moments ago, we saw Dunk Train throw out that Sentinel to spot that top camp that was being grabbed. They're now rotating down 3 members with this siege camp down here, doing the damage that needs to be done. If they can get a poke on the well, just like you were talking about, can really turn the fight. This bottom temple with the only one allows for teams to drop back, heal up, and continue to contest. And we saw Cognitive was not afraid to do so, as we see Falstad trying to push that top lane out just a little bit to contend. He is going to be able to fly it down, but Cognitive, I wouldn't be surprised if they have the early advantage here, Shane.
One thing to take into consideration as both of these teams are about to hit their heroics is with all the stuns that Cloud9 have available between the Raynor, the Tyrande, and the Murden, I wonder if we're going to see Stage Dive here coming out from ETC, as it would play more into that global mobility. It would give them, again, it would continue to build that experience advantage that they've had thus far. Level 10 is here. We'll see what the call is. It still is going to be Mosh Pit. So no Stage Dive shenanigans. But Caterpillar right now, the chances of him finding a really huge Mosh Pit isn't going to be very great. He's got to be careful. He's actually getting rotated on by Tyrande and Jaina. But more than likely, the psychological threat of Mosh Pit is really where it gets its value.
Faye being pushed off there, taking a lot of damage. The Sentinel hits her as well. But on this front line, we do see King Caffeine is sitting on point for this temple. Will we see an engagement? Level 10 was hit, nothing out of the ordinary. Summon Water Elemental was already used by Jaina, and it looks like we might have another engagement as the rest of the team begins to rotate down. Shane, ETC now forcing the action on the bottom. I'm waiting for one of these teams to commit right now.
Cloud9 trying to sweep in there. They're trying to keep ETC away from the rest of his team so maybe they could get the pick off there, but not going to be the scenario. And Cognitive certainly get the better of the end of that temple. They got a majority of it, and it did a lot of damage to the towers in the mid lane, and the rest of the structures are pretty healthy. But with that temple, you see a little bit of an experience advantage here for Cognitive. But if you have a small experience advantage and you're able to utilize that global mobility granted through Falstad, it can just continue to perpetuate itself and really give you a huge lead in level 13. We now see Cloud9 rotate up here in the top lane to try to push down this fort. Hyperion should be able to secure this the takedown on this fort, but they got to be careful. Glaron's looking for a Void Prison.
Yeah, he's stuck in there. He does blink out. We are seeing him drop back the Hyperion, just about able to take that fort, but not just yet. The teams are very even right now. Slight experience advantage in favor, as we do see Arthlon trying to pop it there. Then Flame Strike not able to land and finish the job there, but we do see him get out of there. You can see trying to make that commitment to take down that fort, not able to get that. iDream in a little bit of trouble here. Glaurung diving in. King Caffeine, though, he's dwarf tossing out of there just to safety. Not able to land that power slide. Caterpillar having to drop back there. Now they're contesting the point for Vision once again.
That was very close for both of these teams. Glaurung almost secured a takedown on iDream. If the Lunar Flare hit Glaurung, he more than likely would have gone down. Just very back
down in the middle
forth.
here, Shane.
Oh, man. Arthalon, he should be able to get away here, but he with no level 13 talent, actually, he's got to think twice about that. Glaurung taking a little bit of harassment damage. Taking a look at the numbers here, Jay, how we see the big damage dealer is going to be Jaina for Cloud9 by a huge margin. 4,000 damage over second place, which is surprisingly Tassadar. Tassadar actually doing more damage than the Rainer. That's a testament to how well Cognitive have zoned out iDream and just completely made him a non-factor in this match thus far.
He has gotten picked off just a few times. Rotating to the top, iDream once again in trouble. We do see Glaurung come in, blink in, get that body block. The slow was there, so nicely done there. Calthan Luck and Glaurung up in that top lane, taking down Rainer. We just talked about a couple picks already, and that is the third death, I believe, on Rainer right now.
So Faye is just tripping us up here. She's not going with the proverbial Faye build. She's going with just a little bit of a mix-up with the gathering power at level 4 as opposed to the Netherwind talent picked up at we normally see, which I think that is just a personal choice for Faye, as well as the fact that one of the other nerfs that really hit Kel'Thas hard was the Gravity Lapse is only a second long now as opposed to what it was before. So not much value in that level 4 talent. Gathering power, maybe just a little bit more of an impactful talent must be the mindset that Faye has. She's going more with the traditional Chain Bomb. So the positioning from Cloud9 is going to have to be on point between the Mosh Pit, the Chain Bombs, and everything else that's going on. It's all going to come down to the positioning of Cloud9 in these team fights.
Speaking of positioning, Iacona sitting just on the other side of that wall, knew exactly where King Caffeine was going with that Dwarf Toss. Unfortunately, they're not able to get him out, as we saw the Phoenix go down as well. Not able to secure that kill. Nicely done there by King Caffeine to evade. Another interesting change that we've seen since that patch is that level 13 talent. It's actually going to be Tidal Waves. Yep. We've seen so many heroes with this new Rhaegar spec into that Lightning Shield, but things with the patch are changing, and we are going to see more heals coming out there from Rhaegar.
So that's the talent pickup there of Tidal Waves is extraordinarily strong. It's not the Lightning Shield build emphasis that we're seeing from Iacona. It's more about the healing. Obviously, Cleanse at level 7. Cleanse was that was shoe-in talent at level 7 because the draft we talked about with Cloud9, so much stun, so much crowd control. But yeah, it's more emphasis on the healing, and I agree with that because you have squishy heroes of Falstad, Zeratul, and looking at the lineup of Cloud9 with the vulnerability on Hunter's Mark, the crowd control. I really think the build Iacona going certainly warrants with given the situation and the current state of the game thus far. A little bit of pressure being thrown down in the mid lane. They're trying to get down this fort. Again, the more structures you can take out without using that objective, the more value you can get out of those temples. And the bottom fort is very close to going down. Mid fort is very close to go down. If they can finish off those two forts, Jay Howe, that means whenever they're able to pick up a temple, it's going to be shooting down those towers and the keeps.
They also need any bit of experience right now, as they're already a full level down. One thing that you called at level 13, we are going to see that relentless leader there for Rainer. You know that's going to pay dividends as the game goes on, and that's going to be huge. And now rotating to the top, trying to clear this out, trying to salvage their top fort as well, any bit of damage you can have. But now we're going to see a rotation possibly towards the bottom here by Cognitive, but being sniffed out there by King Caffeine, not willing to commit to that bottom gate, which it looks like they were going to go down there, try and do some structure damage, but not this time.
The Bruiser Camp being picked up here for Cloud9 put a little bit of pressure into that top lane, but Cognitive, man, they have turned a very small experience advantage and now have now it's showing almost over a level advantage and soon to be a level 16 talent advantage, which is huge. That's for the Zeratul, for the Kael'thas, depending on what they want to pick up here. Stone Skin's is option for Glaurung as well as Kael'thas. Or I'm sorry, not Stone Skin, Arcane Barrier, which is pretty much the steroid version of Stone Skin available to Kael'thas. That's essentially a second health bar for Faye. Zeratul going with the Rending Cleave, actually, so a little bit more offensive potential, but still, these are very, very potent level 16 talents. Rhaegar's talents as well. Rhaegar just really starts coming online at level 13 and level 16. He's always been that way, even before the changes. So right now, Cognitive are in a great position to pick up this Shrine. It is only a one Shrine phase, so it's not like Cloud9 can really fall back and, you know, pick one up of their own, but I really doubt we're going to see any contention over the Shrine until either the Shrine's over, or the Temple, rather, or they get themselves level 16.
And we saw Cloud9 poking down both those forts that had very little health that you highlighted last time. They were able to get both of them down, and there they are. That gave them a tiny bit of experience, allowed them to get to 16 a little bit quicker. And now we're on even talents, and this is going to be a lot different than we saw just a moment ago as we see Cloud9 standing on the point, trying to contest it. There are still a handful of shots left right now. Cognitive seeming to get the better of it. Glaurung having to use the Void Prison as a defensive mechanism. Ancestral Healing coming out. Shane, that was kind of a waste there. I mean, it was a necessary waste, but that's a tough one to bite there when you have to use Ancestral Healing and Void Prison. But hey, they got all the shots on the Temple there.
Void Prison is the bigger deal. Ancestral Healing isn't too long of a cooldown, but no Void Prison, that means Cloud9 are going to feel a little bit more confident going into what might be otherwise an unfavorable position, aka contending over a boss, making an aggressive invasion onto a mercenary camp, something like that. And speaking of which, we see Caterpillar now spotting up King Caffeine in that bush. King Caffeine's got to be careful. He's only him and Dunk Train in the background right now. Cognitive were looking to make a move on the other side of Cloud9's field. I'm not entirely sure what they were thinking about. There really wasn't anything for them to take. Maybe trying to catch a rotation out for the boss. And right now, the Shadow Stalk is here. They're trying to get a pick off here, but it's spotted out. The Mighty Gus is going to secure the getaway for Cognitive.
Calvin Luck said, hey guys, I'm a little bit out of position, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure nothing bad happens here. Let's throw a Mighty Gust and fight sometime later, because right now we've got a full level advantage. It's 17 to 16. We're on even talent levels. We're pretty much even. That talent level, not that huge when you think about it, but if we can get to 21st, let's stay alive, and then we'll fight.
So basically, that was just a lot of posturing around the boss. Both the teams were trying to catch the other one out and maybe trying to pick up that boss. But there's a reason that this is called the Throw Pit here, J-Pow, and has for a very, very long time. There's a lot of choke points. Obviously, the boss has the stuns and the tornadoes. Blizzard has loves themselves some tornadoes. For those of you who remember the Burning Crusade Arena, it makes me cringe. But anyways, yeah, lots of tornadoes going down here, and it can really just force a team into an awkward position. And we've seen time and time again where a team feels so ahead and so confident, let's just go pick up a boss without any sort of big advantage other than maybe a level or two, and then they just get just completely torn apart in the team fight. Not going to be the case. The next temples are going to be spawning here. The Polar Temple is up in the north, up in the south. We'll see what these teams want to do. Cloud9 positioning themselves aggressively, trying to catch out Cognitive on a possible rotation here.
I love that face melt there from Caterpillar, sniffing it out. Calvin Luck flying down on Faustad, preparing this. They're not going to get caught out here. And we are going to see a contest for this bottom temple. You can't leave the bottom temple alone because it is the closest to the boss. It's just one of those things that you can't leave alone. And forcing these siege giants, will they be able to pick them up? The poke coming in there from Jaina, the stun coming out, but both teams continuing to posture. A full level lead still, but the next fight is got to happen sometime down here as we see Cloud9 dropping back to get the siege camp of their own.
So I think they're forfeiting this temple right now. Iacona finally picking it up, so Cloud9 is going to be alerted to the fact that it's being taken by Cognitive. We see Cloud9, Jaina's being forced to clean up that Bruiser camp, which was picked up just a moment ago. They themselves could pick up a Bruiser camp and then maybe try to pick up the top temple as well, put a lot of pressure there. Cloud9's got to be careful here. King Caffeine's kind of aggressive forward by himself. This is a 3v5 situation. Arthalon's just now showing up here, but no Jaina. If Cognitive recognized there was no Jaina right there and it was a favorable time for them to initiate, that could have been disaster for Cloud9, but they're all now here. Oh man, Iacona's caught out.
Wow, the Ancestral Healing going down on himself. They caught Rhaegar just out of position with a double stun. The Void Prison going down on that back end. We see King Caffeine up here on the front taking damage, but he is super tanky as we do have that Avatar, I believe, is popped. And now the Hyperion coming up, forcing the action, forcing them back. Gravity Lapse going out, but they are still in pursuit. Cloud9 with the stuns coming out, but the Power Slide goes out. I think we might have seen a cleanse there as well, Shane, and it looks like Cognitive forcing the action, forcing Cognitive to go ahead and drop back here.
All the meanwhile, while this is going on, bottom lane has been pushing out with that one lone siege ogre wailing away on the keep. Top lane is pushing out just by itself as well. Those towers are out of ammunition, so that lane's going to continue. That lane is going to continue to push. We do see Cloud9 has done a little bit of damage to the structures in the bottom lane, which again, there's a lot of emphasis in the bottom lane because it is where the boss is. But and also, still no one picking up this top temple or the bottom temple. These teams have pretty much said, you know what, forget about the objective. Let's try to rotate across the map and try to one-up each other. But I think finally, now that we're seeing these teams kind of spread themselves across the map a little bit, Cloud9 putting themselves to the south and Cognitive north, that finally these objectives are going to start coming into play. And this is going to be a huge opportunity for Cognitive, because off the back of this temple, even though it's only one temple, it should give them enough experience to where they're going to have that Storm tier talent advantage.
We do see Caterpillar and Faye going down to possibly sniff out. They got to do this very carefully. We're going to see Caterpillar go in. The power slide coming out. They're going to try and follow that up. The gravity lapse coming down on Dunk Train. He's going to be able to heal up King Caffeine there. And level 20 is now hit for Cognitive. Just a 3/4 level lead right now. They're still on that top temple. It's going to be defended a little bit by Tassadar potentially. Oh, I missed it.
Down to the bottom lane.
Down to Ronda.
Glaurung showing as to why he's considered one of the best Zeratul players in the world right there. And it wasn't really even a fashy play. It was simply Dunk Train just out of position. And with that one takedown, that is going to give them enough of an advantage to take this boss between no Tyrande being on the field for 45 seconds and having those level 20 Storm tier talents at the same time. They picked up the temple in the top lane. Cognitive are in prime position to take this. If they're able to pick up this boss, maybe and follow through with one more pickup or anything like that, they might be able to just outright win the game, and this is forcing Cloud9 to take a very awkward team fight. No Tyrande, they don't want to give up this boss. They have to give it up here, so they're going to have to fall back. This is going to force their hand. They have to defend this. More than likely, what's going to happen at least is this temple is going to be taken out, but Glaurung on the offensive trying to take down his Protoss brother, and this is a very tense moment for Cloud9. They are on thin ice, J-Hal.
We do see a stun coming out. Captain Luck having to use that barrel roll to get out of there. But Shane, just a few minutes ago, we were calling it when they were on that bottom temple. It was doing damage, but that siege giant was there the entire time doing damage. And now we see the shield going up on this keep. This keep is going to go down. If they can get a pick, this is going to be huge for Cognitive. But we do see the Hyperion coming up, basically zoning them out, allowing them to take down this boss. Excellently defended right here by Cloud9. That was huge, Shane.
Yeah, keeping that keep alive. English language was wonderful. Keeping the keep alive there is huge for them. Not only did they thwart off the aggression, I thought that maybe we're going to see a little bit more emphasis of a more priority rather on getting that keep from Cognitive, but they recognized Cloud9 was on the heels of picking up level 20 for themselves, and with a very strong draft from Cloud9, strong built around the stuns and anything like that, one small overstep from Cognitive could be someone getting taken out. And at this stage of the game, when the respawn timers are so long, we saw what happened last time someone was out of position. Tyrande went down, Dunk Train was caught out, Glaurung in a very good play took him out, and just that one takedown opened up the opportunity then to pick up a boss. Imagine if Cloud9 were able to get 2 or 3 takedowns and fall back, pick up these temples, it would have swung it back into their favor. And with this next temple phase right here, J-How, we're at a point in the match where both these teams have all the talents that they want. As far as structure fatigue goes, Cognitive are certainly in the most favorable position, but these teams are at the peak of their power, and it all is going to come down to execution and just good game sense and good heads-up plays to determine who's going to come out ahead here.
Absolutely. The next team that loses the next fight is King Caffeine, already going to the top, being dove in on by Glaurung, not able to get the rotation that they wanted as we see Dunk Train and iDream retreating back to that middle lane for the fight here. Shadowstalk has used Faye on that back line, popping that arcane barrier. We do see a commitment here, but falling back, getting this temple. They're going to get the right amount of shots. Stun coming out, but Face Melt keeping them out. And Mighty Gust already used their Calthan Luck, keeping it safe, playing it very safe there with nobody around.
All the meanwhile here, we're just seeing Cognitive do a little bit of poke because Glaurung was in the top lane trying to soak that temple.
Oh, wow. Take a look at the top.
Yeah, take a look at top lane pushing in. Avoid Prison onto 3 right now. And this is forcing Cloud9 in a very awkward position. They might get collapsed on here. They have to be careful. But even if they do get this takedown on Iacona, which they won't for now, the core is under siege right now from this Bruiser camp as well as the catapults. Cognitive playing this very cerebrally as just trying to outmaneuver Cloud9 and just win through the objective. This is very much so a cat and mouse chase right now. King Caffeine's in a lot of trouble. He'll be alive for now, but man, Cognitive just playing that so very well.
I love Glaurung's aggression there, forcing King Caffeine back, doing a ton of damage right there. As we're going to see them, that's going to allow them. The heals are coming out. The Mighty Gust already back. The Hyperion going out, but Shadowstalk. Now comes the Mosh Pit, but interrupted there. We do see the Ice Block coming out there, and Calthan Luck trying to get back there. Glaurung under assault. Can he get chased down? Shane, what is going on here right now? Cloud9 turning the battle in their favor.
They didn't get a takedown, but more importantly, they secured the temple. And that temple right there would have taken down that last keep available in the bottom lane, which keep your eye on because bottom lane is pushing in pretty hard. Someone's got to respond to that, as Cloud9 is actually going to probably send K1 Pro or King Caffeine down there. But every single little shot that they can keep from Cognitive is a win for Cloud9 right here, because Cognitive are so far ahead in the structure fatigue that if they give up one takedown, they give up, or just even the smallest of disadvantage, that if Cloud9 find themselves in a smallest of disadvantage, it's going to be a very, very hard place to get themselves out of. King Caffeine is back by himself. The Mighty Gus separating Dunk Train from the rest of his team. Jaina gets torn apart right there. No ice block available. And this is looking great for Cognitive. If they can just weather the storm a little bit here, as there is no Ancestral Healing, they could turn this around, take a team fight, potentially take the map with this temple.
They are very low on health. They're going to go ahead and give up the rest of this temple. That means that Jaina is going to be back before the next temple phase. Or are we going to get a re-engagement here? iDream being dove in on by Glaurung. Once again, the stun coming out. Void Prison goes out. This might be the separation they need. Caterpillar on that back on King Caffeine. And we have two members getting stunned there. This Shadowstock not able to save them. Dunk Train goes down. This is going to be tough for Cloud9 here.
Cloud9 are on the defensive. Then they more than likely are going to be taken out here. iDream pushed away. He's going to get torn apart right there. King Caffeine's going to go down. Ladies and gentlemen, Cognitive, in a very confident fashion, are taking this game against Cloud9. They don't even need the objective. They're just going to go right on top of the core. If all the lanes already pushed in, he's got to make sure Arthalon doesn't pull some crazy Arthalon trick. But yeah, this is going to be Cognitive knocking Cloud9. Their first appearance here in Enter the Storm Cup #2 for North America, and they're taking a relatively early exit. We thought that we'd see them in finals, but Cognitive making a statement here. We know that they're a phenomenal team, that Cognitive is, but this new roster band is not to be trifled with. Impressive display, and congratulations to Cognitive.
Absolutely impressive. We saw Cognitive already qualify, Cloud9 already qualify for that LA tournament that's coming up on the 27th and 28th of this month. And Shane, if you're wanting to make a statement and you don't make it through the first time, but you're able to take down Cloud9 in this Enter the Storm qualifier. Now, I know that the normal goes out, hey, they don't want to show their tactics before the tournament. They might be trying something else. We've just had the patch. But when you play this well against one of the top teams and you're right there with them and you're showing something going into the end of February, you can walk in with a lot more confidence. And that's huge, I think, in this event right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue to move down the bracket. Congratulations to Cognitive. They're going to move on to the finals. We'll see who their opponent is and going to take a small break. In the meantime, of course, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your support. I am Shane Gucher, joined by my good friend Jay Howe. Check us out on Twitter. I'm at Shane Gucher. Jay Howe is at Jay Howe Gaming.
That's right. Yeah.
Nailed it. We're going to cut to a small break, get you the next match under the way, and stay tuned. Don't go anywhere, and we'll see you in just a moment.